for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for a moment of silent prayer. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Lisa, if you will, start the roll call.
Tyson,
Present.
Mike Gunner,
Present.
Brenda Dixon, here, Bill Gritzbaker,
Here.
Jerry Hayes,
Here.
Eric Rogers, here, Tim Waters,
Present. Beginning with the minutes of January 9th, 2023. Can I get a motion to approve those?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 9th, 2023 village council meeting.
I'll support.
Motion moved and supported. Lisa, if you will.
Mike,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Gwen, yes, Jerry,
Yes.
James,
Yes. Motion passes. Presentations and communications. Nothing tonight? Okay. Just moving on to the agenda. There has been talk about moving items 4 and 5, just reversing those orders. I don't think it makes a big deal for the discussion, but if it so pleases anybody, please go ahead and make that motion.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as amended and have number 5 be number 4 and number 4 number 5.
I'll support that.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? No. Seeing none, go ahead, Lisa.
Gwen, yes, Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
James,
Yes. The motion passes. Public comments, items on the agenda. Nobody tonight? All right, moving on to unfinished business. Council, does anybody have any unfinished business?
I don't know if you would call this unfinished business necessarily with our council per se, but there was a meeting this weekend regarding the bicentennial group at the historic depot, and mentioned was our participation as a village council and what our thoughts would be. And I know we had talked before about representation from council, and I would like to know if you guys would give opposed if I could be a representation of council for the bicentennial for Blissfield.
I would support that and support anything you need that I can help with.
So I just, if you guys are okay with, I'll just, I'm not saying anybody else cannot answer, but I know that we would ask for that representation. Okay, that's my only old news.
Anybody else?
I just think that makes it clear cut because we don't want 7 different committees doing 10 different things. You know, I mean, we kind of want us to fall under the realm of the village.
Yes.
That's how we go about that. So it does, yeah, it's going to come up quickly. So we can see the
Yes, they had that meeting. Jackie Lawrence, they were in attendance when I was there. I know others, and Melissa was there as well. I know others were in attendance at break. So, okay, thank you.
Moving on to new business. Item 1, consideration wastewater treatment plant upgrade project change orders.
There was an email out this afternoon that said that LaSalle was not gonna be able to attend that, so
That's correct.
I'll make a motion to table this until a later date.
I'll support that.
Moved and supported. Lisa, if you will.
Aaron,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes, the motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 2, approve change order for wastewater treatment plant number 20. This is our 20th change order.
Correct.
Wow,
Yes.
pretty good for a project this size.
Yeah, so just, if you have questions, Denise is on Zoom. I let her, she was gonna be here in person, but with Sal not coming, I told her Zoom would probably be sufficient. But this change order is for the 10,597.08. It includes, the door threshold revisions. And I think this is a material thing that Denise can talk about, but it spec'd out, some like membrane or fabric that they needed to get a whole roll. And this made it a little bit faster timeline, they could get the material and it not cost as much. There's also a skid voltage change and electrical changes which were required by the state electrical inspector. So staff and the engineers are recommending this change order. And then I did attach that tracking spreadsheet that I've been doing for you guys to show if this is approved, where we would be and what's remaining. But it would leave just over $92,000 in our contingency fund for this project.
Danielle, can you or maybe Denise talk about the completion? We've been sitting at 95% now for
At least 3 months.
yeah, I think that every time I see a completion update, it's 95%. So do we have a target completion date?
So their initial, or I shouldn't say initial, it's far from the initial. Their last timeline was to be completed the end of January. I do know that they will not meet that. We did request an updated look ahead or schedule for completion date. We've not received that yet, and Denise might have a better idea. I know that we're sitting at that completion because we are, and I think I've said this before, we've got nothing really complete out there. Everything, all the different components of the project are near completion, but they're missing a part or two to really complete everything. So I think once they get these final parts or materials in, things will move a lot more quickly, but it's just right now kind of at a standstill. But Denise, did you want to elaborate at all? Did I miss anything?
No, you're right. They do owe us that schedule. I know the one outstanding thing
Hold
that.
on a second, Denise. We've got to get your volume turned up.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
it's
can you hear
all
me
the
now?
way up, Denise. Can you see if that's on your end?
I'm all the way up on my end. Can you hear me now?
No,
Anybody? I don't know. I haven't done anything different, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I guess, do you guys have questions? I mean, I gave you kind of a very basic overview of why we're at that percent. And I think it is a concern. I have been keeping Eagle apprised of everything going on in USDA. I think that schedule will help a lot. When I get that, I'll share that with council as well. And then hopefully if they attend a meeting in the near future, that can be something that's discussed with them directly as well.
okay.
Do you know if the parts that we're waiting for are parts that should have been ordered a year and a half ago, or are they parts that were recently changed based on change orders that we did?
I would have to go look. I don't know off the top of my head, Jerry, to answer
Danielle?
that fairly.
Can you hear me at all, Danielle?
Denise, this is Lisa. I can hear you.
Okay, what I was gonna say is the gate that we are waiting on was originally ordered and supposed to be delivered last September. So it is something from the original.
It's something from the original, the gate that they had ordered was supposed to be delivered last September, so it is something originally ordered.
Okay,
Thank you, Lisa.
thanks. With that being said, looking for a motion to approve the change order.
Motion to approve change order number 20 in the amount of $10,597.08 and authorize the village administrator to execute all documents related to the change order on behalf of the governing body.
Support.
I've got a motion that's moved and supported. Hearing no other discussion, Lisa, you want to call the roll?
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
James,
Yes, the motion passes. Agenda item number 3, wastewater treatment plant upgrade payment. Is Randy on tonight?
He is not, no. I'm sorry, he was also planning on attending, but I told him not to worry about it. He worked a lot this weekend with some stuff and.
Okay.
But this pay app is for work that LaSalle's completed. It's been reviewed by the engineers and has been recommended for approval by them and staff.
I'll move to approve the contract and pay at number 22 in the amount of $109,458.28 in connection with the Village of Blissfield WWTP project upgrade and authorize the village administrator to execute all documents related to this payment.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Lisa, call the roll, please.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
James,
Yes, motion passes. Agenda item number 4. Melissa, we changed the order, 4 now being 5, or 5 now being 4. Approved legal services engagement letter.
Council, Dave is here to answer any questions you guys have about this, but just really quick, did want to point out that the engagement letter is under Stimson and Associates now rather than Lacoste and Shadler. And it is the same hourly rate, same rates that they had previously or are previously charging the village. And then the only other thing that I did want to bring up, and just because it came up at the committee of the whole, is this engagement letter, the same as the first one, does identify that the points of contact would be village president and myself. So if you guys want to change that, then I think we could do like a strike through an initial and send that off, or have Dave revise that. Otherwise, if you have questions for Dave or myself, let us know.
I have a question for Attorney Lacoste. I heard, and this was not from a village employee or a council member, that a village made an offer to the prosecutor of Phoebe's office on the forensic audit case. Is that true?
I'm sorry, can you clarify what did you hear?
Has an offer been made from the village to prosecutor Phoebe's office on the forensic audit case?
No.
It has not.
No.
I'll make a motion to move to approve the engagement as presented and authorize President James Eitzen to execute on behalf of the governing body.
Second. Moved and supported. Any other discussion? Or questions for Attorney Lacoste?
As I had alluded to at the committee meeting, I think that council needs to be involved as a whole. Point of contact can obviously go through Danielle, but any communication should be relayed to the council as a whole and not just to the village president. I think that's critical that we're all involved. We all know what are apprised of what's going on.
Yeah, and there's no pushback from me on that.
what would you think that would look like then, like, so when the attorney connects with Danielle email, he goes ahead and CCs us on it, or makes phone calls, or, I mean, I'm asking just for clarification. Or Danielle forwards it to us, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, either one, we would be CC'd or Danielle would forward it on, again, just in regards to decision making, in regards to, I guess, big ticket items. I think council needs to be apprised. We're the ultimate decision makers, and again, that's not to take anything away from Danielle in the day-to-day operations, but we're still the top of that chain and making a decision as a board, and I think we need to be apprised of all information as such.
So when the attorney connects with Danielle and she CCs us, and then she can't give a decision based upon our decision, and do we have a separate special meeting for this issue? And then we go ahead and wait and discuss, and then we give a response. Is that what you're thinking? That's how I would interpret that to be.
I would recommend that, yes.
Isn't that the best decision though? I mean, there could be a short timeline and we're gonna drag it out because we need to call a special meeting. Just speculate there.
Again, that falls back on our village administrator making a proper decision on if it's something that, it falls within the realm for our day-to-day operations, or whether it's a larger scale item that needs to be addressed at the council level. And that's something that I think both the attorneys and the administrator should be able to decipher.
I think that puts the attorney and our village administrator in a challenging position that I think is not warranted.
Well, I think there's been some miscommunication that council has been unaware of in the past regarding the direction of going to the former village president, or just Sir Danielle, and possibly us not being in the know of what's going on. And that doesn't sit well with me.
What, can you give an example? I'm not trying to be smart, Mike, seriously. I don't know what example there could possibly be that hasn't been done appropriately. That Danielle / the attorney / her job description, her work has not been appropriate.
Just in regards to any sort of legal aspect, things that we make a decision on as a whole, like I discussed at the committee meeting. Anytime that something would potentially go to a litigation, closed session, anything like that, we should be apprised that, whether it comes through letter, whether it comes through email, it should come directly from the lawyers, and that's how it has in the past. I guess with the rewriting of the agreement, of going, I guess that's something that I missed, of going through the village president as a whole. Again, it's not a mayor city mentality. This is a village council, it's a village board, and we operate as a board. The 7 of us make the ultimate decisions. Danielle does the day-to-day operations of the village.
And this has to basically do with the embezzlement case.
That, as well as back in the past when, I was quote chastised by some, podcasts about seeking out a new village administrator, that sort of stuff. Again, there's realms and there's roles that each of us handle, and I think we need to better know our job descriptions of what we need to do. And that stuff's very easy to find. It's on MML, and there's handouts and there's flyers. Again, the village president, and I'm not trying to take it away from the role of the village president, but again, the 7 of us make these ultimate decisions as the board. That's why there's 7 of us up here.
So, may I ask a clarification? Because I want to ask clarification in the specific matter that was brought up during the committee of the whole. That particular activity did not involve litigation. The village is not party to any litigation in that, from that standpoint. The action was to protect the privileged property of the village. Certainly, if the village is involved in any litigation, and we are involved in litigation strategy, that is certainly something that we as legal counsel will communicate and discuss with counsel. For the most part, in closed session, those would certainly occur. So it's the while that activity did involve an appearance in court, it was not litigation. So what I would like to have clarification about are what type of, are we talking about if our expenditure of our time is going to approach a dollar limit, or is it a subject matter, or just so we get some clarification as far as, because we will communicate to you however you want, if you're the council. I just would like some clarification and in some specifics so that we can perform as you expect.
I guess my challenge is what has occurred in the past. And obviously we have a new council, we have a new administrator, and we have a new legal attorney. So again, I think it's better preparing of deciphering how the information is disseminated, how the process works of who makes the ultimate decisions, who's privy to what kind of information is coming back and forth between council and our attorneys.
I'm still not sure. I believe that has been done, from my perspective, with the attorney / Danielle.
Well, based on that last challenge in court, I think that's something that should have come to council. And it was a decision that was apparently made by our village administrator when that is beyond that role. Again, I think we should be apprised of anything that happens. We seem to be very out of the loop on what's going on. Number one, with this investment case. And number two, with a few other things that have happened in the past. So again, my concern is that we are out of the loop. They're not being told of being apprised of this information, privy information that maybe others have as a board.
Well, I thought they explained that last week very clearly, that how we, the village of Blissfield, relate to the whole embezzlement. I thought that they explained it.
I wasn't sold on that answer.
Okay.
If we want the role that we're in, then we need to handle all of the roles that we play and the roles that are assigned to us. We can't just say, I trust Danielle's decisions on everything. If we want to fulfill our role, then we need to apprise to be able to do our jobs. But we have to have the information disseminated to us to do those jobs.
I find that sometimes, depending on what it is, sometimes we say we want to micromanage Danielle, and I think other times we don't want to micromanage Danielle. I think it depends on what the subject is.
Mike, I hear what you're saying. I'm not going to advocate for additional powers as president. I don't know how to make that clear or how to quantify what you're asking for. I don't know what language to put in this letter that would satisfy that request, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
We can change the engagement letter to remove the village president from that point of contact, so that it reads generally that our primary point of contact with the village is through the administrator. And remove that part about the village president. There's nothing wrong with that. And I've got no problem with that. And then as far as in communication with Danielle and between whether it's me or Phil or Danielle, and we will talk about, depending on what the matter is and what the issue is, about whether we feel whether it's appropriate to communicate to council and get approval. If that is something that will be as opposed to something that is sent to just the village president. That will be sent to all council members. So that's it's still a little fuzzy as far as
Yeah, and that
How
does
we would
actually
like to
take power away from the council and put more power in the hands of Danielle.
no.
So that we're walking a very fine line here.
We are, but then Danielle should know her role, whether to bring, when to bring something to council and when it needs to be addressed.
Yep.
And also the attorneys need to know that, okay, it's time for a closed session, or, you know, there's three things that we would discuss in a closed session. And it's our attorney's roles to know those as well,
You're exactly
when they
right.
need to bring it to us.
Understand something that the issue the last issue that you're referring to as far as the embezzlement case, that would not have been eligible to go into closed session. We would not have had a basis for going into closed session.
Okay, well, we could have decided how to move forward about that as a board in the open session as well.
That's what you want to do. I'm more than happy to do that.
Dave, regarding that situation, what was our timeline for action on that?
I believe we had 2 weeks to respond to it. The problem is that the volume of information potential volume was tremendous. Also, if we were going to, what we ended up doing, which was to file a motion to quash it, you know, that does take some time to do. You know, I have to do the research so that I make sure that I file a motion that's going to be effective and that's going to be successful, as it ultimately was. We had, so 2 weeks seems to be, oh, didn't have days, we had 2 weeks. That's from the date that it was mailed out, or that it was sent. But we were under, it's not a lot of time, we're dealing with that specific situation, so. Whether we could have asked for an extension, maybe, but that's, you know, that subpoena did not come from court, it came from a party to the matter.
Well, does anybody have any proposed language changes to the engagement letter?
I think it's fine just as is.
All right, at least you want to call roll?
Tim,
No.
Eric,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
No,
Gwen,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
James,
Yes, the motion passes. Agenda item number 5, previously 4, approve attorney attendance at regular village council meetings. I'll open this up to council discussion. We did touch on it last meeting during meeting of the whole. I don't think we came to any major conclusions, so anybody have thoughts?
I was just looking into it, you know, you got the two options, you got, you know, doing one meeting at one, it would just be charged at 150, right, correct, even if both of you attend, we're just paying.
Yeah,
150
yeah.
for
You're
rate,
not,
so.
you're not charging for 2 of us, I don't think that's been the
Hope not,
case.
yeah. Okay, so you're looking at, say, an average of 2 hours, $3,600 a year, if they attend one meeting a month. At 2 hours, it'd be $4,500 a month. We do both meetings, 7,200 versus 9,000 a year, it's 2.5 hours. So again, we're paying pretty much the same rate. But I think it would be beneficial for council to have an attorney present if we have questions regarding any sort of agenda item. Just their background, they're the ones that protect us, they're the ones that protect the village. I think it's better than, again, like we had discussed, dragging things out and having to table motions or having to move on. We can get an answer then and there. I think that's money well spent.
I would agree with Mike on that. So much of what we do has to do with the law, whether it's an ordinance or any sort of legal issues, and have them here, I think would help expedite situations. Help us expedite business a little bit better.
Why did we go away from that? It was a budget there, it was a budget
Strictly
shortfall, we were
budget.
trying to strictly budget, right? Is that correct?
That was how I looked at
Yeah.
it. They stopped attending the meetings, I think, prior to me coming on board full time. I don't know if that was, and I don't know how much prior
Okay.
either.
We had only been on, we'd only been the interim for a month or two, maybe.
Not even.
Yeah, one of the first things we worked on was Danielle's contract, so. I don't think this council, and I know it was primarily Phil at that time, so I wasn't as involved, but I don't think that we had received direction to regularly come to meetings.
Okay.
So this, and as I've said before, if it would be the second monthly meeting, that would resolve conflict that we would have, as I have other obligations on the second Tuesday of the month.
Personally, I don't feel a need that we need an attorney present monthly. I think how the pattern has been flowing has been appropriate. I can't think of anything that was a dire consequence because the attorney wasn't here at that time. That's my position.
Any other thoughts? If not, I'm looking for a motion.
You're saying you want to be able to attend both Monday meetings, both the second and fourth Monday.
The village here has the same meeting as Raisin Township, who I also, they pay to have me there for every monthly board meeting, and that's on the same evening on your first. And we could, if you wanted to vote one of us here, I could attend the second and he could attend the first, and Phil could attend the first one. That's perfectly fine. If that is your desire. And you don't have to do the initial retainer if you want to just do it on an hourly basis. What we also include in that is in our retainer is that also includes any preparation for attending the meeting. So we get the council package just like you do. And that retainer would also include not just our attendance here, but also our preparation work for any matters that were on the meeting.
Danielle, do you have
Well, one meeting a month might be a good compromise.
do you have a
I
preference?
honestly, I don't have a preference. Again, initially it came to you guys just as a way to look at us budget-wise making sure that we were just being as fiscally diligent as we could, but otherwise I don't have a preference.
And you have a concern with any of the monies here as far as the budget?
No, I think it's up to you guys, if you want to do the retainer or just the hourly rate. The retainer, I do think could be beneficial because it's I think 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I just averaged it out. It's the one meeting a month at our hourly rate. That's just over 2 3/4 hours per meeting if we go one meeting a month.
So I do think there could be some benefit there if we run into longer meetings, although I would love to see us have very efficient short meetings as well. So I mean, I think that's something, if you guys decide to have them, just maybe factor in what's gonna be more cost effective there, but otherwise it's completely up to you guys. And
If you felt it's been a detriment to not have an attorney here, is there something that I don't recall that there was an issue that we felt was a dire need?
I do remember there was a meeting where we had postponed something so that I could get some information from the attorneys, and I did have every intention of trying to remember what that was specifically, and I just did not get the time to do that, but I don't know that I have ever felt like it's a detriment. They do currently get every agenda that comes to you guys just to review and make sure that if there's something that I put on there that they're not aware of, if they have concerns, or we feel they need to be here. And then I would say a lot of the items, especially the big things, they've already reviewed before it even is put on the agenda. But again, I'm good with whatever.
I could just hear your opinion.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll be glad to make a motion to continue no attorney be present unless requested specifically by the board / Danielle. If it can be that simple, Lisa.
Is there support for that motion or is there further discussion?
So that would be to continue as it has been.
As it has been,
over
yes.
the past.
I don't know if I should say the past 6 months or the appropriate verbiage. And that perhaps I should say, to amend that motion to say to continue no attorney presence for the continued or for the duration of their contract unless specifically requested by counsel / the administrator. Would you read that, Lisa?
Continue, no attorney present for duration of contract unless requested by counsel or administrator.
Is that what I would call a contract? Is that the appropriate terminology?
Yeah, engagement.
Engagement
contract,
contract.
yeah, either way is probably fine.
There is no term to the contract, just while we're under agreement.
Okay, there you go.
So I think it can be terminated by yourself or counsel anytime.
Correct. Correct.
We have a motion, we don't have support for it.
I would support that.
All right, moved and supported. Does anybody need that reread?
Just please, one more time.
Continue, no attendance or present during the engagement or contract unless requested by the counsel or administrator.
Thank you.
Moved and supported. Lisa, you want to call the roll?
Mike,
No.
Jerry,
No.
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
No.
Eric,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
James,
Yes. The motion passes. That does not exclude us from requesting legal counsel at any meeting. So as council members, if you see something that you think you'd like their presence, please reach out to Danielle and ask for their attendance or ask for it to be moved to the meeting that they can approve, they can attend. Moving on to item number 6, approve hydro pneumatic tank rental. And this would be Nora, this is your,
You can, so we are requesting, and really this item and the next agenda, I'm gonna kind of merge them, and I apologize for that, but it'll just make more sense. We would like to approve the proposal from Portable Water Systems to rent this tank. We have a contract with, Yola now, it used to be Suez, I think they've changed names a few times, to do maintenance on our water tower, and this year we're due for the full scope of interior maintenance, which typically when they go in and do maintenance, it's about a 2-week shutdown because it's the full scope and they'll completely respray the interior and then it'll have to cure. We're looking at 30 days. So it's quite a bit longer. We did not budget for a 30-day tank rental. Hopefully, we don't need it, but this is important to have because if we lose power, then what happens is we run the risk of having to do a boil advisory, and the tank just helps protect our water supply while that tower is down. So the first request is just asking you guys if you'll approve or authorize this expenditure. It is over my approval limit, obviously. And then the second, or the next agenda item is to do a budget amendment to pay for the cost of this rental. But if you have questions for myself or Nora, let us know.
How much did we originally have budgeted? Sorry, Eric.
Oh, that's exactly what I was gonna ask.
So, to be completely honest, I don't know, I did not specifically account for this. In the past, for the 2 weeks, we paid about $7,000, which we would have been able to afford within just our normal operating budget, but I didn't, and I was not aware of this when I was budgeting, so I didn't like specifically call out this item like I did with a lot of others, which I will be doing in the future.
And this would come from the water fund?
Correct, yes, it does come out of the water treatment plant, which is under water fund, but yes, specifically their department.
What's our current balance in that,
You're like,
the water fund?
yeah, let me pull it up really quick. You want like to-date balance?
Just roughly.
What's the to-date balance
Okay, balance?
of water fund? Like today, the
Jimmy,
balance,
what's the date again right now? I think it's like almost 1.1 million.
I will tell you that that's not a very accurate picture because we're
Comes in and goes out.
correct. And because we're at the beginning of our fiscal year, we collect most of our revenues and towards the end, and we kind of get stacked and then we spend it and get back down. So this would come from our fund balance, and I can, if you want me to pull that amount, what we projected, but it was a 6-month reserve that we had specifically set to the side in water fund for emergencies and try to save up to do capital down the road.
Thank you.
This is, again, we're not reinventing the wheel here anywhere. This is what we do every couple of years. Every time the tank gets drained and cleaned and they dive in it, whatnot, it just balances the water. And this is, again, is stuff that needs to be set calendar wise, not only just, this is just another representation of how can we be more efficient? And again, every couple of years, we know we do these same sort of maintenance things. It should just be, okay, this year, here's what has to happen. And I know I need to budget for this because we know we do it consistently. It's something we need to do. If the tank were to go down or power were to go out, we still have to provide water. It's cut and dry, but it's stuff that needs to be known. Again, not only just with us, but in DDA, we have things that are repetitive every year or every couple of years. It's like, well, duh, we didn't budget for that, but we continuously need to do it. So again, how are we more efficient in that? And then whether it's the next person that comes in, whether, it's replacing, I know we've been through a lot of administrators, been through a lot of different, decision makers at the top. But we can set people up for success by having that stuff just put in place. So again, not to tangent off to that, I move we approve the 18,000 and just go ahead and get that tank because it's obviously needed.
And I do want to just really quick, I agree with you, Mike. So I have created a budget list of things that are reoccurring and how often they're reoccurring so that hopefully we don't lose track. Because again, this is something I'll know in the future, but didn't know previously.
Yep.
But
And
agree
again,
with
it's
you
learning
completely.
process. In
Yeah.
2 more years, you'll know, okay, I have to budget for this portable tank, and obviously
Yes.
because we need it. So
Support. Can I get clarification on the amount? Just-
It
you just
is
said-
17,800 as long as we do the 30 days. Anything over 30 days will be $356 a day.
Thank you. Can I get that made in the motion?
sure. Yeah, friendly amendment, 17,800. The additional rental days, $356.
Thank you, Mike. Lisa, please call the roll.
Eric,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes, that motion passes. Can I get a motion for item agenda number 7?
Certainly, move to approve the resolution approving the budget amendment for pneumatic tank rental to protect the water system while maintenance is completed at the water tower by increasing water plant outside contractor by $18,000.
Support.
Moved and supported. Lisa, if you will.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
James,
Yes. The motion passes. Thank you. Item agenda number 8, budget amendment for fellowship match. We heard about this great program. Does anybody have any questions? I'd be looking for a motion to approve the budget amendment of $10,000.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing a budget amendment in the amount of $10,000 to fund the match for the CEDAM fellowship program.
Support. Moved and supported. Lisa?
I got a question. What fund, what fund, the general fund?
Yes, it is the general fund economic development.
Because we already gave technically the DDA 15,000 from the general fund at the beginning of this year, so then we're at 25,000. That kind of go towards economic development. I just want council to be aware of that because we do know how tight the budget is. Obviously, I'm very big supporter of this because it helps us get our RC, it helps with the economic development and whatnot. But again, when we talk budget wise, we talk about how tight that string is. So I just want to be aware of where it's coming from. And
I think Danielle's looking for a grant for that.
I did request, or I did apply for scholarship funding. I've still not officially heard on that, but the next agenda item is the MOU, which says that we'll pay this. So I'm just putting it out there. If we get that, I'll certainly let you guys know. And then we have had a conversation, or I have had a conversation with Laura about going to the DDA board and talking to them about seeing if they would help even a small portion of this, but I've not gone to them yet. So again, I want to get this out there to cover us because I don't want to miss the opportunity for us to participate in this program. And our return on this is huge. I mean, its total cost is just under 100,000 and we get a full-time employee for 15 months, so.
And you're right, and the benefit of that would mainly be through the DDA Main Street program, so I don't see why that department wouldn't be able to help fund this process.
I've got a motion moved and supported. Please, you want to call the roll?
Bill,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
James,
Yes, that motion passes. Item agenda number 9, approve the fellowship amendment.
I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding move with Community Economic Development Association of Michigan for the fellowship program and authorize the village administrator to execute the documents on behalf of the government.
Or moved and supported. When is the next DDA? February 14th? Is that correct?
February 8th.
February 8th. Okay, thank you. So is that when you plan to bring this up to DDA?
Yes.
Fantastic. Lisa, if you will, thank you.
Mike,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
James,
Yes, the motion passes. Item agenda number 10, appoint Parks and Rec Advisory Board. I'm looking for a motion to approve Phil Bloom, Gwen Dusta, Brandon Hudson, Eric May, Emily Mullins, and Jacob Norman to the Parks and Rec Board.
Danielle, do I abstain from this?
No, I think you can vote.
I wasn't sure if I could vote with my name on there or not. Right.
Yeah, I
You're
don't.
not getting, you're not getting any money, are you?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
Then you're fine.
Okay.
Motion to reappoint Phil Bloom, Gwen Dusa, Brandon Hudson, Eric May, Emily Mullins, and Jacob Norman to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board with the term ending December 31, 2024.
Support. And supported. Anybody have any questions?
The only thing I had is, I know I was at that Parks and Rec meeting. It was mentioned about possibly changing the schedule for the elections, only so that we don't replace the whole board at once. That the board gets replaced on a rotating basis, similar to how the council works. I know we haven't motioned and supported that way, but I think that's something that needs to be looked at in the future. And I think it was pretty much the consensus of the
Yes.
rec board as well, to do that so that they don't have all of a sudden they're looking for 16 members.
And that'll be a bylaw amendment, Eric, so I did pull their bylaws which state what the terms are, so we'll amend that at the Parks and Rec Board level to have alternating term years, and then that'll come to council for final approval.
So that would lengthen their terms then.
We're going to have to, yes, because if we want to have the rotating, it's gonna have to be 4-year terms instead of the 2.
Okay.
Or we do short, and then, well, no, we can't. We could do like staggering, like 1, 2, and 3-year terms, or I don't know, I'll have to look at it, but it's definitely gonna have to change their length.
Well, the other
some way.
boards are 4-year terms, right?
Correct.
I would just say that's the way to go.
Move to match
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Go ahead, Lisa.
Jerry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes,
Gwen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
James.
Yes, my motion passes, and thank you to all those members. Item agenda number 11, approved fee waiver request. I don't see the representatives of,
I think they're out of state. I believe they are still. Did receive this request via email, and I can give you a little bit, or what I know at least. This property did use the water. They had left to go, I think Arizona, don't quote me on that. And the meter was reading pretty high. Actually, one of our DPW employees caught it, went back an hour later, and it had read in that short amount of time, I think 400 gallons. So we they came in and notified the office, so we got a hold of the property owner who had sent somebody in town to go over there and look at it. And their sump pump was found to have been running, so again, they did use that water. There was no issues with the meter or anything, but we did let them know. Their total bill is the $1,181.35, and they're just requesting that council consider giving them some kind of waiver or reduction in that bill. Which is that's the bill that will go out on February 1st. So they've not officially received this bill yet, but that is the amount that they'll be billed for. And if you guys have questions, I'll try to answer the best that I can, or Brendan can as well.
the customer indicated that it was a backup water system that acts as a pump to pump out the sump. I'm familiar with those. Has that system been corrected or repaired so that it doesn't happen again?
So right now, they've requested, when that happened, to have water shut off at the main, so we have done that, so they have no usage. Or won't until they get back and get that repaired or whatever they need to do. Outside, they have the minimum availability fee, but so I don't know if it's repaired, Eric, or not, but I know it's shut off.
Funny story, 2014, same thing happened to a business, and we dealt with this at the council level then. And the discussion back then was setting precedent and a couple of other things. Is it fair to put the costs of the waste on the rest of the residents in the village? That sort of thing. I think council, I believe, we worked out a deal to where we would knock off the sewer charges because again, we're not producing that, it's going into the storm. It's a backup insurance system for them. But we still produce that water was wasted, and ultimately that water production does fall back on the rest of the residents. So again, I feel for them. I know Suzanne and Charlie both very well, and I think they're great people, but again, I don't think it's fair to the rest of the residents to have to make up the difference. Had they not had that backup system, potentially their basement got flooded or whatever else, it was an issue. And again, that's just the risk of insurance and backups and whatnot.
Well, honestly, the DPW worker, the employee, had not
Unfortunately, we did find that, otherwise it would, probably would have been a lot higher.
continued to go.
So again, I know I feel for them. If I had a $1,100, $1,200 water bill, I'd be freaking too, but I think the right thing to do is credit them to sewer. We didn't have to produce anything regarding that. But the water, I'm sorry, it was produced, and it's not the responsibility of the rest of the residents to have to pay for that. It's unfortunate of circumstances it is. I think for precedent, I think for consistency, I think that's the way that we should go about it. And in the future, I think that's the way that we should go about it. Again, everybody knows how high the water rates are. Everybody's struggling to pay the water. We got to produce it. We have to make money or break even on the water production. So again, I feel for them, but it is what it is.
I'm in agreement with you there, Mike. Danielle, would there be a possibility, and council, I don't know if you guys would agree with this or not, what if they went ahead and paid it in thirds versus having to pay the whole $1,100 off at one time? Would that help them financially and all? I don't know if that's something that they could do instead of just at one fell swoop.
And I honestly, I don't want to speak for them. I don't know their financial situation at all. That's certainly something that I can go back and ask if that would help them and get more information.
I'm just saying that, I'm in agreement seriously with what Mike is saying, is stating that the water was produced, it was taken care of. I agree with the sewage being eliminated. If it helps them to maybe do it in payments.
I'll tell you the water's off. And if they're out of state, if they made a payment, they're already off, so we would not, as a village staff, we don't have an issue with them making payments on that bill, so long as it's paid before that water's turned back on. And I'm not sure how long they will be out of town. I'm not sure if it's the rest of the winter or what.
Mike, let me ask you a question. You said that this happened once before, and the resolution was that we credited the sewer part, but how did the customer then take care of that large water bill? Did they make payments?
I don't remember. No, he just paid it, I believe. I think that's what the agreement was. So looking at, you said you guys figured out the average between 3,300, 4,900 gallons a month. So average of that 4,100 gallons a month, I'd say drop the sewer charges on the 4,100 gallons. I'm sorry about the rest, but again, that water was produced. It went through your meter. As much as it stinks, somebody has to pay for it. I don't know if they could maybe file an insurance claim. That's something they would have to talk with their insurance rep, whether, that's something that whether they have a deductible or whatever that would cover it. I don't know. Maybe we could recommend that to the Gateses, but my motion, or I guess my recommendation, I'll make a motion that we credit Suzanne and Charlie Gates for over 4,100 gallons of sewer production on that $1,181.35 bill, or 35-cent bill, if we can calculate that.
Yeah, I don't have access to pull it on my laptop right now, but I can pull the exact amount and let you guys know. But I think I understand, you're just saying they would get their normal water sewer bill for the 4,100 and then water only for everything up over that.
Yep.
Okay, and we can absolutely calculate that.
I'll support that.
But hold on, because they didn't, all that went into secondary storm.
Went in the storm.
So none of it went into sewer. And they're not even there. So why credit 4,100 and not the whole sewer amount?
I think Mike was saying because that's their average usage, and they were there, because we're 6 weeks behind. I think they had just recently left, was my understanding.
Okay,
And then, again, I guess that's my understanding, I could be wrong on that. But I think they did have like their normal usage and then this was above and beyond.
Okay. Got it, that's a part of this. Jerry, you were in support of that motion?
Yes, sir.
Is that motion at all, are your thoughts, anybody on council regarding a payment? Or just one fell swoop of the payment? I'm just asking, that's all.
I'm okay with payments, and I'm like 3-6, I don't care.
Yeah, as long as it's paid in full before their water's turned on.
The offices are the ones that make those payment arrangements, right? And I'm sure you do it with
Yeah,
others.
and we don't do payment arrangements, but again, like if they don't pay, their water gets shut off, they're already off, so I'm
So I
good
see what
as
you're saying
long
now,
as,
Danielle, okay.
yeah, as long as
misunderstood.
that's paid before they come home and you want the water
And
turned
we
back
don't really
on.
care how long, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
We're not gonna compound this financial damages by charging them to turn it back on, though, are we?
No, we won't.
We're gonna at least extend that courtesy to them. These are nice people, long-term residents, this is an unfortunate thing, so. All right, so I've got a motion and supported, anything else? Lisa?
No,
Yes.
Tim,
Do this.
Eric,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes,
Gwen,
Yes,
James,
Yes, that motion passes. Number 12, resignation water treatment plant operator, Jenna White.
move council accept the resignation of Jenna White with the last day being February 2nd, 2023 with appreciation.
support,
Moved and supported, any further discussion? No. Lisa, go ahead.
Jerry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes,
Gwen,
yes,
James.
Yes. Reports. Does anybody have any questions about any of the reports?
the impact report, did you guys check that out, the DDA impact report? I think that is one fabulous report. Wow,
Yes, it is awesome. Laura put a ton of work into that.
yes,
I think we've done it, Heather did it the year
Yes.
before, but I do think that has some really good information. It's available on our website. If anybody wants a copy, we can print it. We had some printed. I know Laura's getting more. But yeah, very cool report. And I think the last DDA board meeting, they all really enjoyed seeing that as well.
besides the Facebook, is there a link or a suggestion for residents to take a look at that? Because I would like for more residents to see all of
The
that.
DDA board actually approved to do mailings of that report to every resident.
That's fantastic.
Excellent, excellent, okay. Also, I just want to make it for what it's worth here with Laura's January report. I really liked that report versus the format she had previously, or she used previously, because that just shows specifically what's being done or been done recently versus all the stuff that's been done in the past, for what it's worse. So I know, Mike, you're on DDA, if you could, just, I thought that was a really nice report.
I guess I could wait till the meeting next week, but I'm a little confused on the Yuletide where it actually. Decipher there, she said 19,000 in revenue. And then what's that net mean?
So you guys spent $6,000 in sponsorship money. So Yuletide, if you look at just simply like revenue and expenditure for that event, it lost $6,000, which was in the budget under sponsorship. So historically, Yuletide had never made revenue before. Last year was actually the first year. So this year they spent more on Yuletide, but their revenues increased. And the goal of that committee is to get that to be a budget neutral event where they're making exactly what they're spending, and they are slowly closing that gap. But anything that's like right now, the sponsorship's meant to pay for those events.
So this isn't taking into account, I guess, the feeling or a survey of businesses, you know what I'm saying? That's what I would like to see, is more of a.
So this was the village's
This is the
expenses
village
revenues. We
expenses.
did actually, and this is really hard to tell, but they those cards that you, for every $10 spent, you would cash it in. We did do a count of those, which equaled about $32,000 spent within the downtown over that weekend. That doesn't factor in the people who didn't turn in their cards, things like that. We don't really have a way to track the exact numbers overall. We can do the numbers at specific events, but that's kind of how we track what the expenditures in the downtown were. And then each of the businesses, of course, can give us that, what they did over the weekend. But our plan is in the future to add those tickets up so that we can see year to year what dollars were spent in the district.
I just want to know as a board member, you know, that is all of the effort and all of the expenses and what that worth it are, you know, I would hope that we make more than $32,000 in sales over a 3-day weekend for those businesses. So again, the amount of time and money and dedication and, you know, volunteers, I guess I'm just trying to weigh as a board member, you know, is the bang there for the buck? So
Yeah, and
that's my
the
question.
committee did actually a really good presentation at the last CDA meeting. I get with Laura to get it, because I don't want to speak for them, but they did talk about what they can do in the future. Even James, you were at that meeting
I was,
too, I believe.
and those are the same questions I had.
Yeah,
And going back to the 32,000, there's a number of businesses that didn't participate. I don't think Coney nor Four Keys, Starling participated in that. The art studio that recently opened, Barrett Dvorsky, he was open and doing clinics and whatnot, and he had a lot of foot traffic. He was really excited to get his grand opening that weekend. But again, he didn't have retail sales. So I think a lot of businesses did benefit. It just didn't really participate in the $10 thing. It was a busy weekend. I was down here all weekend. And, I thought it was a great event. So, but yeah, it's hard to quantify the added money spent in our community.
and they did talk about, you know, what they want to really look at is the events. Like, we don't want the events to cannibalize the spending and the shopping in town, downtown. Like, if they're spending so much time at the events and not going around to the businesses, that's not the goal. So they are going to focus on that, I know, going into the next Yuletide event.
Thank you.
Any other questions on reports?
Eric, you're gonna say anything about Parks and Rec at all? Anything?
No,
Right.
we'll come to the next meeting with that presentation about the,
Okay, I was under the impression that you were gonna speak about it tonight.
yeah, we revised because LaSalle was supposed to be here to push it back.
Gotcha.
So, which I thought was a good idea.
That's,
I guess my question on the reporting then for the newer council, you know, we kind of had it in the past that each representative, be it Laura or Eric, whoever be at least one of the meetings. Are we going to continue that philosophy, or are we just going to go with reports? Because I know Gwen, you had wanted Heather here quite a bit, or Laura in the past. So is that something that we want to continue, or are the reports sufficing?
I personally like the person here attending, but report has been thorough, but I like him here. Certainly.
Because having Eric here, you know, obviously if we're moving on to Parks and Rec, I would like to be involved. I think council should be involved in discussing who will change some of the top, Ms. Holland, things like that with Ms. Holland. Again, I'm not trying to stand on a pedestal or anything, but we're the ones that actually have to spend that money in the end. So I get the Parks and Rec board being involved and making recommendations, but I think council definitely needs to be in those discussions as well.
Well, I think that's where Eric was.
I'll be here.
Yeah, that'll be on the next
I'm always here.
agenda. We were going to have it on this meeting, but we were concerned about time with the LaSalle request being on initially. So I had told Eric that it might be better time-wise, and so we weren't on Friday to put it on the next agenda.
I can share with you that just briefly at our meeting, it was stated regarding the with Mrs. Holland's generous gift for the village with the aquatic center. Eric will have a display showing what they're looking to have built and what things will be looking like, what they are suggesting, what the recommendations are. He'll have that material for us. He stated certainly about and Danielle did regarding the success with pool memberships being sold prior to the holiday. And Danielle had already alluded to that in her update and speaking with that to us. With the spring soccer, youth football, we did not discuss any specific sporting events, but we did spend quite a bit of time talking about the aquatic center and some other thoughts for raising the watershed and things of that nature. I don't know how much, how many details you guys want me to provide, but I see some things sitting on the board for a little while, certainly not as long as you might, but that I do see I see worth when we attend those meetings, okay, because we need to have that liaison between what's going on there, and I feel that I felt like before Parks and Rec did have a real good feeling for that, and if you guys want, I can answer any questions if Eric's not here, but as Eric stated, he's usually here, but I think it is important to have us as a liaison. I do agree with that, and I do see good things happening with Parks and Rec, in a forward direction. I do have a question, James, if I may, regarding the police with the zoning administrator. I appreciate seeing that report. I know that's something that Stacy is working on. Then Danielle, can you give us some heads up on there, what's happening there? She's just being trained in that position now, more with the zoning and.
Yeah, so she has actually really hit the ground running. So I know this is her first report to you guys, and her and I talked about it. I know it took me a few times to kind of get a style or format that I felt comfortable with. It may be the same with her, but through winter, it typically is always a little bit slower on zoning and code enforcement things, but we've had a few here recently. So working with that, if she needs assistance from the officers or police department, they've been great. She's very proficient. I don't do anything with building permits anymore at this point. I don't think any of us do. In fact, I occasionally have to come out of my office and just cash somebody out so I don't forget how to do it. So she's doing great. And her position is a lot of hands-on, and as things come up and happen, kind of working through them, just because there's so many scenarios and different situations that happen in her job that it's just impossible to think of them all, but she's doing a great job. I
appreciate her report, and on her report, she stated that regarding some of the ordinances, and does she take any law enforcement with her at all when she looks and visits any of these addresses regarding the ordinance not being followed?
So in most cases, she does not, unless there is an indication or there's been some concern or issues prior that would require her to do that. She does not, in her position, go onto anybody's property. That's something that if that were needed or were the case, she would reach out to the police department. So for example, if somebody were to complain that a vehicle wasn't tagged and she couldn't see the plate from the road, we would reach out to the police officers.
So she has the opportunity, that's when she does the visit, she goes and looks at it from a visual standpoint.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are very careful just because she's not wearing, she doesn't have a badge, she's not wearing a uniform, that we don't want somebody to mistake her. So we're very aware of her safety when she does any of those things. And again, I think the officers are all great if we need any help with something or we're not sure we need to get onto the property.
Okay. And one other question regarding that report was she states routinely respond to FOIA requests. Are we having quite a few FOIAs as of late, or is this something that we need to be aware of?
No, this is specifically police department FOIA requests. General Village, we don't get a ton of them, a few here and there. But police department regularly gets FOIA requests for copies of a police report. It's really always been that way, and she is starting to, I think they're working with her to get a better handle on that and being able to respond to those so that it doesn't take up the officer time.
I see.
But yeah, that's always, and at least in my time with the village, those have been pretty regular and frequent.
Okay, thank you.
All right, council discussion.
Regarding Nora's, sorry, not to drag this out real quick, but having Nora here.
So obviously the VFDs were found to be not under warranty. And we've gone through how many of those, you know, over the past year. So again, do we think this is a heat issue in the building? Is it an electrical issue? I mean, we cannot continue.
We've found
Purchasing.
multiple things. There was a short in the electrical panel, it's called a bucket, is what they fit in. The bucket was actually shorted out, so we got a new breaker and everything on that one. We've been good. I am already looking into air conditioning units for that control panel itself, not the whole building, because the whole building was about $30,000. To do just that panel, we're looking more about 5 to 7, just depending on the unit we get. So we are looking at that, because if you've noticed a trend, when we had those issues, it was a warmer month. So definitely something we're looking into, and it is budgeted for this year. So that, and we are still waiting on that one new one to come in.
Is UIS the only vendor that produces that we can use?
There is another vendor, but their units, they only use one brand of VFD. UIS will go to multiple brands of VFDs. So we are changing brand with this new one that we're waiting for. It'll be a different brand than we've had in the past. This one's a heavy duty and it does have the line reactors on it. So it helps equal out some of those jumps and spikes we're seeing in electricity coming in.
But they were the ones that came out and investigated originally. Why would they have not realized that short when we've already been through, what, 2 or 3 over the past year? When UIS be the ones to say, hey, something's obviously wrong here. and
I
test all
found
of
the
that?
short,
Say that, something that to me is just unacceptable on their part, because they're the ones, quote, selling us these things and magically not warranting them.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a bigger issue.
so in our area, there's 2 companies that do it. We started with the other company first and Kip got rid of them very quickly. He was having issues with them, so I've only ever used UIS. We use them for multiple things. I don't know why this one, and what's odd was it wasn't the same VFD each time, but it was just one bucket that was going bad. We do get spikes from consumers. So that also wears down on our VFDs. So there's a lot of little things that play into it, but that one, when we had VFD 1 blow, we had VFD 2 blow twice. So that's when I found the short in the bucket and had them come out and they rebuilt the bucket and everything for us.
What's consumers say about the spikes?
They say it's fine. We're supposed to have about 390 that comes in. We're getting about 420 to 430. So we do get large spikes every once in a while. And then we do see dips also. So I do record all of those when I catch them. But that's not all of them, I'm sure. But those are things that can wear on all of our equipment, mixers, motors, everything. But the most we've seen, because our VFDs are used 24 hours a day, every day, they don't turn off. So they're what's gonna see a lot of the damage with what's coming into the plant. So, and they did that recorder, and we have all that equipment or all that data from when they did that. So
I would just like to see it, consumers
Yeah.
address a little bit harder and saying, well, what's going on here? This is unacceptable. Obviously, it's costing us, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars worth each time. So if we replace everything that you think you found in the VFDs and we're still having issues, again, I mean, we can't just say, okay, that's okay. So
For the spikes, Nora, I mean, I'm sure you've looked this over, any special, event, weather, summer, spring, fall.
at first, consumers wanted to point out that it was our generator. It was not true. When we got off of our generator, because there was a blink, our generator came on. It came on for a short period of time. It wasn't very long. When it came back to consumers is when we had the huge spike. So they were saying that our generator was getting low wattage, but that wasn't true. Our generator, they came and spec'd our whole generator. Our generator gave exactly what it needed. It's when consumers is on is when I will see spikes. So we've got the data. They don't want to talk to me about it. If we need to do something in the future, I do have data on that and dates written down and stuff, but
we need to be a little more aggressive with it because that's costing a lot of money.
Is that something that's serious?
UIS has talked to them as well.
Is that something that the attorneys need to visit, talk with, any?
We see
anything
these
like that?
spikes also in the summer more. So I don't know if it's just a grid in general from Detroit, Toledo, kind of where we're at. I don't know if it's, you know, something bigger like that. I don't know electricity. So, you know, I don't know if it's something bigger that is what's coming into town or, you know, I don't really know. I know what's coming into my building fluctuates, sometimes pretty extremely and it's usually the warmer weather. So we're getting blinks and then it's hotter, the FDs blow out a lot of heat. So we do have vents on them, however, I'm looking into the air conditioners for that.
So it says the air conditioning going on, okay.
So that's why we're seeing it in that time period.
And then secondly, just, going down your list, we're talking about the tower mixers. We spent $22,000 to $25,000, whatever, for those based on Riga's needs. And we need to be a little more hardball with Riga, with the Drain Commission, whoever, and say, was our investment worth it? Again, it fell back on all the residents to put those mixers in. They need to work with us and they need to shut that line so that you can do the proper testing and play a little more hardball with it.
Problem's not Riga right now. When I wrote this message to you guys, I was on the phone with One-Way Drain. I was on the phone with Jason Morris at that time. I asked him, I said, I know Mike's gonna wanna, he asked me at this last meeting, he's gonna want some answers. What can I tell him? Eagle has told them that they're not allowed to open that valve on 223 for another at least one monitoring cycle. So we shut that valve April of last year. We got the mixers put in May of last year. Just bad timing, the mixers were supposed to be put in earlier, weather, they couldn't get on the tower. So that's why it fell the way it did. So that means to go with our monitoring cycle, the next one after March would be June. So the soonest they can open it is this June. But they said they'd like to see one, if not two monitoring cycles. So I'm supposed to hopefully sit in a meeting with them and their engineer for Riga. They also found a valve that has never been open that they always thought was open. So that's moving water better over there at this time. Our tests since June of last year have all come back very good here and over there. They've had no problems. So, but to say directly coming off the tower, because the one they're using now on Gibson, the water only goes to the tower when my high service pumps are off. So most of the time they're getting water that's never touched the tower. But when on 223, the water would be coming straight from the tower out. So that water would be a little older in age, but they're not getting that right now. So that would be something that we need to get that valve open. And I have been talking to them a lot, but their Eagle engineers firm that it has to sit for at least, so they have data on their end. But my fight is I don't have data on my end, so.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Lisa?
Council discussion?
Oh, yes, please. Something, two things. Danielle, before the weather gets here, regarding ordinances, regarding the noxious weeds, 124.1, 124.002, and 124.003, all about the length of the, the grass, all of that. I know that we had said that different ordinances were gonna take different priority, if you will. Before that even comes to be, can we revisit this, discuss this, so that we can go into this year prepared, proactive versus reactive?
Yeah, I have the ordinance revision drafted. And I had sent it to the attorneys to review, and they kicked it was actually Phil, had kicked it back because of the way that we wanted to do a civil fine. Am I calling that right? Civil fine.
Municipal civil infraction.
A civil infraction that I knew I was gonna say it wrong. That we would have to, and I'm not this is very new to me. I don't fully understand it, but we would have to have a review board for, maybe Dave should explain this.
Well, like I said, Phil worked on this, so I'm not specific. I have not looked at this specifically to be able to give you a direct answer, but I mean, generally speaking, in order to have a municipal civil infractions, what you can have is a municipal infractions board, which you appoint here in order to receive the payments for the violations instead of, so it's not that complicated.
It probably isn't, I don't understand it, so I need to talk to them and see,
Okay.
like, does that board can it be just staff members? Like, is that me, Brandon and Stacy? I don't know. And that's the component that they have recommended at this time, that we should not approve that until we identify what that is. So I just need clarification on that and can bring that to you guys.
Well, it's just, I mean, it's January, but grass will be growing before we know it. And again, I just want to be proactive versus reactive. And that was something that last summer, without having the zoning administrator, et cetera, that we weren't able to kind of keep up on that material appropriately.
Yeah, I will get with Phil and Dave, or both, one or the other, and see what I need to do for that portion and where that ordinance would, because it would be a new ordinance identifying that board, where it fits within our ordinances, and I could bring those to you guys together.
Okay. I would like to see that. And my last comment is, I'm not sure how this is addressed regarding the railroad crossing that takes place on North Monroe. It is getting a little rough. Well, I should say a little rough, but it's rough, and I don't know, I know it's railroad, and I know we have very limited / no say on that, but I didn't know how we can go about having that maybe addressed, looked at. I've had some residents talk with me about the crossing, the railroad crossing over there.
And I'm sorry,
On North Monroe.
North Monroe, thank you. I can reach out to Chris, the owner of that, and see if they have plans, or if there's something we could do there together, maybe, or just talk to them and let you guys know.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure how that works.
Have you heard anything, speaking of the railroad, about the upgrades to North Lane Street that they're planning?
I have not, so they did part of it last year, so the next phase is the light would be removed, but I've not heard when that's scheduled, or if it's scheduled, or if they're doing the work, or what's going on there yet. But I can also, when I reach out to Chris, ask him about that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, that's all, James, thank you.
Okay. Public comments, items not on the agenda. Please come on.
You mentioned Monroe Street. Gibson Street is worse.
I put that down too.
Thank you.
Is that Jackie? Just do it.
That's it.
All right. Call for adjournment then.
Make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Moved and supported. Lisa, if you will.
Yes. Tim?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Bill? Mary?
Yes.
James?
Yes. Motion passes. Meeting adjourned. Next meeting, February 13th.
That's a problem.